All right. Well, hello and welcome everyone to session 9, Developing Policy Adjacent Language on Artificial Intelligence Use in Graduate Research. This session is being recorded. And sharing this information with you today are Ruth Liu and Greg Newton, both from Ohio University Graduate College. My name is Teri Green, and I'll be your moderator for the next 50 minutes. And a quick reminder, I'm sorry, I just lost my script. A quick reminder before we begin, during the presentation portion, remember to keep your audio muted. And then just please use a Zoom chat tab to ask any questions, which will then be addressed during the discussion segment. Again, thank you for joining us, and I will turn it over to Ruth and Greg.
Thank you so much, Teri. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I see there are 44 participants in the room, so it's a big gathering. We appreciate your spending the time with us. As Teri introduced, my name is Ruth, and I serve as the Director for Thesis and Dissertation Services at the Grad College in Ohio University. And joined me today is Dr. Greg Newton, who is the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and also faculty in the School of Media Arts and Studies of Scripps College of Communication. Dr. Newton, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Ruth. I think you did a pretty good job of introducing me there, but it's nice to be here with everybody this afternoon and make the acquaintance of some folks who do some really important work at various universities around here.
Thank you, Greg. Greg offered a lot of guidance and mentorship for me, and I'm very grateful. And he's also the one who's spearheading the AI conversations in the grad college and campus-wide conversations. So we're very grateful that he could join us today. So our presentation will be more like interactive and conversational. So if you have any questions during our talk, please just jump in, and we will also leave some time at the end of the presentation so we can open the floor for your feedback and concerns. So today we're very excited to be here at the 2025 ETD conference to explore a timely and evolving topic. How can we begin developing policy adjacent language around AI use in graduate research? First of all, we want to frame this issue. We want to talk about the importance of theses and dissertations. We also want to talk about the role of AI in academic writing. And we also want to explore why policy adjacent language matters a lot. And this keyword, policy adjacent, will be throughout this presentation. As we know, theses and dissertations push the boundaries of current literature, and they often contribute to the original content of a field, and sometimes they synthesize information in the field as well. They represent a lot of things: graduate students' ability to conduct research and communicate their findings. These documents, electronic theses and dissertations, ETDs, often become part of the academic and public records and publication records and used by future researchers. So the integrity of it all becomes very important. In recent years, AI tools are increasingly used in the writing process. Various products are available from correcting grammatical errors and to paraphrasing content and even drafting sections. So while these tools can be used of great assistance, they can also raise issues such as the question of who is the true author? How do we ensure transparency in the use of AI, and what constitutes acceptable assistance versus unethical authorship? So all of these questions lead to our topic of why policy adjacent language matters. For policy adjacent language, we sometimes refer to them as guidelines. Policy usually implies formal, enforceable rules, often with consequences for non-compliance. Guidelines, on the other hand, are advisory. They offer direction, promote best practices, and encourage consistency. They're more flexible and they allow for interpretation and adaptation across disciplines and practical cases. The benefits of having flexible guidance can include many. It can encourage innovation while maintaining integrity. It can be updated more easily as new tools and use cases emerge. In today's conversation, in today's conferences, we saw a lot of good cases of using AI. And in today's morning session with the Elicit session with Dr. Kristen Terrell and Lily Copton, we saw that when they were presenting on their on the usage of Elicit, when they were preparing for it, it was one interface. And then when we were actually practical doing it today, the interface has changed. So many changes could happen overnight. It is very hard to keep up with all the things that could emerge. It can also respect disciplinary differences. So what's appropriate in engineering may differ from what's appropriate in philosophy. So guidelines also offers a culture of trust and shared responsibilities rather than surveillance and enforcement. The risks of rigid policies may create fear or confusion among students and faculty, stifle creativity and experimentation, lead to inconsistent enforcement or unintended consequences. In some cases, rigid policies may not keep pace with the technology, making them obsolete or irrelevant quickly. And that is why policy adjacent language is a middle ground. It is not about avoiding structure, but giving a flexible spin so it creates living language that can evolve. And this language helps institutions to set expectations, promote transparency, respond quickly to emerging practices, offer guidance without enforcement, encourage ethical use while respecting disciplinary differences, and also build consensus without locking into premature rules. At this point, you might be thinking, wow, you've done a lot of homework to make sure that make the case for policy adjacent language. But the real question is, how are higher education institutions actually respond to AI use in graduate research? And that is what we have been exploring through benchmarking, local initiatives, and real-world cases. And our takeaway for this is very clear. While formal policies are still emerging, many institutions are leaning into more flexible, adaptive guidance that reflects the complexity and diversity of academic work. And now we will share several examples from this from our peer institutions here and here at Ohio. The first one we want to share is a case from University of Wisconsin, and they actually adapted some of the practices from Georgia Tech. And they have a full webpage of detailed guidance. So we're going to go through several of them together. The first one is guidance on the usage of GenAI. So in this, a lot of words here. So some of the bullet points here. The first one is guidance on brainstorming. So it encouraged students to use AI as a tool to brainstorm for their ideas. And they encourage them to maybe just seek for ideas and getting references or just stimulate some new kind of thoughts and patterns. And also, yes.
Oh, sorry, Ruth.
Yes.
We said this was going to be sort of a loose conversational presentation, so
Yes.
Excuse the interruption here. But
Yes.
I wanted to add that I think this first one is particularly a good example, the brainstorming idea of one of the things that we'll kind of talk about repeatedly in the presentation here, and that is that there are obviously various good, responsible, ethical uses of AI tools. Many of those are things that in one way or another sort of mimic the kinds of processes that we always have engaged in research, right? Once upon a time, brainstorming would have involved a student going and talking with their mentor, their advisor. It probably would have involved talking with peers in their doctoral cohort or their master's cohort. And I hope those things are still going on because those are valuable as well. But really, you can use AI as a tool to engage in those sorts of formative discussions as well at this point. And so this is the brainstorming piece here, right?
Thank you, Greg. Exactly. Yeah, so you have a new system to do your homework. I agree with that. And yeah, and also on the third bullet point, it talked about basically what we have been sharing, the garbage in, garbage out. So if you provide a low quality or vague prompt, you will more likely to get fake results. And therefore, the critical thinking skills from the author is very important. So you will be able to recognize and also construct prompts that are effective when you put it in. And please feel free to jump in whenever. I'm sorry, I just went ahead with the slides. So great.
Yeah, that's fine, Ruth. This one, this whole idea of responsible AI use is something that I've been deeply involved in discussions here on this campus in various contexts. Dissertation or thesis research is one of those, but teaching is one. There are others as well. And one of the things that really jumped out to me when we were reviewing the policies of various places was this advice on usage from the Wisconsin site, in part because it really echoed a lot of the discussions and what felt like were beginning to be the best practices that we're developing here, starting with this very first item, which is be very skeptical, right? I've heard this described in other settings as make sure you're engaging in critical thinking, in critical use of these tools, because um, they can sometimes give you um, misleading or flat out wrong information. Heard one of the large language models, or maybe it was a general comment, described recently by somebody as a very smart 10-year-old who obsessively wants to please you. And I think that gets at some of the problems that can crop up in some of these spaces and uses, right?
Absolutely. I love that metaphor. And sometimes it feels like it. And when it hallucinates, you kind of like, yeah, why did this pop up? Exactly.
Yeah.
We've also talked about well, I guess some faculty members have talked about that be very aware when you upload your data or sections of your dissertations onto AI platforms. And yeah, so for OU, we are partnering with Copilot. So we a lot of the things that we do within this system, will not share outside of it. So yeah, we think it's more secure in that regard. Do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, Ruth. I think we're seeing different campuses adopt different sort of partner structures and trying to find ways to develop secure and contained AI platforms in their different spaces. How secure you need something to be depends a little bit on the sensitivity of the information you're dealing with. Obviously, if you're in, a health research space or something like that, where you're dealing with personal information and health data and things of that nature, that's different than some of the research that others of us might be engaged in. But it is definitely an area that anybody using one of these tools should be cognizant of and do their own due diligence again in this space as to what is happening with that information that you're sharing with the AI platform.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg. And the next up is more specifically about thesis and writing publications. In the University of Wisconsin, it talked about editorial assistance is acceptable, but also you got to be cautious about what ideas you put in using AI. And also, AI would produce things that sounds good, but not really, I guess, be legitimate enough to be examined by experts. That's why I think it is important for the author to be very cautious about what they're writing and what they're putting out. And although there's not a policy for AI, there's policies regarding student conduct. So if you're using AI to generate a large portion of your dissertation or a large portion of your thesis, and that would considered as cheating or plagiarism, and that will be considered as a violation of the code of conduct. And the next institution that we are looking at is our peer institution, Iowa State University. We've had a really wonderful presentations from them throughout these 2 days. And for them, from my colleague, Kristen Terrell, she talked about Iowa State. There is no specific policy on AI for thesis and dissertations in the graduate handbook. However, there is some wordings on the guidance from the Office of Research, and they have a lot of FAQs out there. And then one of them specifically addressed whether there is a formal policy there. So there's the answer is no. And the reasoning is with the technology evolving, the formal policy is likely to be outdated by the time it would be enacted when the technology changes. So so that is the response from Iowa State.
Yeah, Ruth, I'm sorry, could you bounce that back to that slide for just 1 second? Because there's one thing here that I wanted to highlight as well as we think about guidance for students in our spaces, and that's the very last point about following the direction and AI guidance from their professional societies and particularly the publishing houses they work with, because at least what I'm seeing when I look at this area is that the publishing standards and what's allowable in terms of AI use from different journals, different academic publishers varies widely, and students starting to work on a dissertation, if they have hope of spinning that research out into other distribution channels, and most of us do in that situation, need to be aware of what they're going to encounter when they try to take that work to a broader audience.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg. And also Lily has commented in the chat. So Iowa State's graduate college is working on a position statement, and that is wonderful. And we can't wait to read it when it's out. We are also working on something similar. So great. And looking inward on campus at Ohio, we have found some statement about GenAI. We do not have any policies made from the Bragg College, but in our close partner, the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Assessment, they offer some foundational language out there. As you can see, all these statements, AI is here to stay. Like any technology, AI has affordances and limitations. These are consistent. These are consistent and they're unlikely to change in the near future. And they serve as valuable guideposts as we navigate these evolving landscapes. Yes. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Greg.
the thing I really like about the CTLA statements, and by the way, if anybody wants to look those up, they are on the CTLA website here at OU, is that they really do, again, sort of emphasize that critical thinking, responsible use sort of approach to AI, and taking what I think of as a healthy approach to the use of these tools.
Absolutely. And CTLA also gave a lot of guidance on the syllabus development, which are available on their website that help faculty members incorporate those AI-related expectations into their courses. So.
I will say one of the hardest things about writing a syllabus the last couple semesters for me has been figuring out what to put in the AI policy in my classes. It's a difficult piece to think through in a lot of cases.
Yes, and it's great to have your faculty experience, Greg, and we will talk more about that later in today's presentation discussion. Yes. So after reviewing both formal policy and policy adjacent languages related to GenAI, we took it upon ourselves to examine what has already been implemented at our institution in the local context of our own. So the internal review helps us better understand current practices and inform us the next steps in developing thoughtful, flexible guidance for graduate research. So these are the three initiatives that were carried out in recent year and maybe last year in the conversation for GenAI use. The first is AI Symposium. The second is AI at OU. And the third is AI Really Killing Creativity. So we'll dive into each one of them. The first initiative was AI Symposium, and that happened earliest last year. And it was a one-day conference that explored different facets of artificial intelligence and has brought together faculty, staff, students across disciplines. They invited a lot of well-known keynote speakers around the globe to talk about future-proofing career in the age of automation and innovation, the business application of AI beyond ChatGPT, how AI will transform business and one's career. So the take of this symposium was pretty futuristic. And here is a quote from the keynote speaker. "You're entering maybe the weirdest timeline in human history. You're going into this phase where all of this is new and being reinvented. That's actually an opportunity."
Yeah, I heard somebody else describe this whole process as building the airplane while you're in flight, and it definitely feels like that a little bit at times as we're trying to work through all the challenges, all the opportunities, and how to apply these things in our various spaces. All right.
Absolutely. And another meaningful initiative was designed specifically related to our target audience, graduate students. So graduate college actually played a big role in this development and execution. And it is an exploration series that's in collaboration with the university libraries, Academic Achievement Center, and we have some special AI fellow professors such as Dr. Paul Shevlin to be involved in the development of this series. So these sessions are created for students interested in understanding how AI might impact their academic and professional work. The organizers intentionally curated a diverse set of topics, ranging from practical strategies for using AI effectively to critically discuss about the ethical, social, and academic implications of these technologies. And these sessions not only supported students' learning, but also helped surface questions and concerns that inform our broader efforts to develop policy adjacent language. And here is an overview of the sessions that we have done. And in aligning with these sessions, we have created a AI at OU Canvas community where students are encouraged to cooperate, discuss, problem solve, and share ideas and experiences concerning the rapid changing technology and the reach of AI. Greg, would you like to talk about your experience involving in this project?
Yeah, I can add maybe a little bit. This really started as a series of conversations amongst a few of us. I guess summer of 24. Yeah. And you saw the list of partners that were involved eventually in the rollout. And we really were just trying to provide a space that would be supportive for students thinking about how they were going to engage with AI in the various parts of their program. And obviously, graduate students occupy a really unique space in most universities, right? They are students, obviously, first and foremost, but many of them are also teachers, they're researchers. And so trying to deal with AI in all those different contexts, we felt like we needed to give them a space to talk amongst themselves and also with some folks who maybe had some expertise to share. And so we put this series together, and you can see the outline of it, reflecting, I think, both my own personal interests as well as the interests of some of the folks at libraries, and certainly Dr. Shevlin, who is the CTLA AI fellow. We led off with the critical thinking piece, right? How do ethics come into play in an AI context? What about copyright and privacy considerations? And Paul brought in a bunch of great examples for the students to kind of talk about and think about in those sessions. We also wanted to give them some very practical pieces, and so the library's folks led a session on prompt engineering. We spent another afternoon or evening exploring some different generative AI platforms. And in this one, we actually encouraged the students who were signed up for the series to make suggestions about what platforms they would like us to take a look at there. And so we spent that couple of hours trying out different tools for different purposes. And then to conclude it all, we asked them to come to us with a project they were working on, and an AI tool they were considering using for that. And we spent that session walking through some prompts and some discussion and digging into the terms of service and looking at the ethical pieces and privacy concerns that might come into play and some of those sorts of things. So we really did try to create a nice build for the students, and I was certainly pretty happy with the way it all came out. And especially once, as we got close to the time and decided to build it as a Canvas course, so it lives on and we can reuse the pieces and build onto those pieces, and students can continue to engage with each other through the communication tools in Canvas and things like that. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg. I had a really good time collaborating with different units as well and learned a lot.
Yeah.
And then the next initiative that was done at OU was is AI really killing creativity. We'll go really quickly here because we want to be mindful of time. This is an initiative that was generated by the members of Scripps College of Communication, where they joined a panel for an open forum that discusses about authorship, ethics, and the future of media and design in the age of AI. And as you can see, these posters, they are wild and they're full of vibrance and integration of pretty cutting edge elements. So they're all developed by AI. So.
Those are all the creation, by the way, of Adonis Dorado, who's one of the design professors in our visual communication program in Scripps. And you get some indication here of why Adonis is a globally awarded, globally respected designer. But this is him working with AI tools to create these. And that was one of the discussion points in that session earlier this week.
Yeah, I would love to go to one of his shows using AI. Great. Following the campus-wide multi-unit collaboration efforts on GenAI, we began to look at more nuanced and practical questions, especially from communities like USETDA. One such question raised in the USETDA community highlights the need for clarity around AI use in thesis work, particularly when students are using AI tools in their coursework that overlaps with dissertation writing. We also want to spotlight a compelling individual case, Dr. Newton's doctoral student who successfully defended their dissertation after incorporating AI tools into their research and writing process. These examples illustrate the real-world complexity of AI use in graduate research and reinforce the importance of developing thoughtful, policy-adjacent language that supports transparency, academic integrity, and innovation. So for our first case study, the background of this case comes from a wonderful colleague who is also in today's group and whose institution had a student begin drafting parts of their thesis in a research methods course. The instructor had incorporated AI tools into most assignments, and the student used AI for brainstorming and copy editing. The student had prior approval to work on their thesis in this class, but the use of AI raised new questions. At this institution, there is currently no formal policy on AI use in theses or dissertations. The thesis and dissertation handbook does not address AI either, which is likely true for many of us. This raises the question, how do we handle emerging technologies when policy hasn't caught up? So these are the discussion points for the ETD community. So these are the questions that we can come back at the end of the presentation, but these are also very important questions. They reflect a growing need for clear, flexible guidance. It underscores the importance of policy-adjacent language, something that helps faculty and students navigate these situations with confidence. It also shows that institutions are looking to each other for models and collaboration. The next real-world case is from Dr. Newton, and we will turn it over to him to talk more about this case.
Okay, I will step through this as quickly as I can, Ruth, and because I know we want to leave at least a few minutes for some questions and discussion. Kwong started his dissertation a couple of years ago, and you can see in the abstract here, the basic idea was to look at how generative AI was framed in U.S. news media, and I will say that English is probably Kwong's fourth language. He's from Vietnam. And so at the proposal stage, what he had asked was whether he could use generative AI as a writing aid, right? As a proofreader and things like that. And we approved him to use Grammarly for that sort of purpose. He was writing in Vietnamese and then translating it and then trying to clean it up, clean up the English. I will say at the proposal stage, we learned that the prompt engineering had to be very, very tailored and specific. His original proposal sort of wound up looking like it was written as a bad high school sophomore project. The language was it was terrible, right? But we got much better, and he got much better over time as we worked on this. As the project evolved, Ruth, if you want to go ahead and jump ahead to the next slide. It was a content analysis of three newspapers, three national newspapers, and normally you would get a handful of human coders and do the research, looking at what the content of those articles was. But what we discovered was that there were some AI-driven content analysis tools out there, and in particular, the content analysis expert on the committee and Kwong selected Comprehend It. which allowed him to develop a much larger database. Thank you very much, Megan, for the comment there. To develop a much larger database. But I will say part of that process was doing the same kinds of things you would do with human coders, right? There's a rather extensive intercoder reliability check involving human coders and comprehend it. And the standard sorts of testing around on that. And it passed, which was a very happy occurrence. But anyway, so we went through all those kinds of usual elements of rigor, and that was part of the process, but it allowed him to develop a much bigger data set within a manageable time frame as a result of being able to use that AI tool in that process. I think those are the two main things I wanted to highlight here. It was very much an ongoing discussion, a collaborative process with the committee. We were concerned about transparency issues. We wanted to know exactly what he was doing, both with the Comprehend It tool as well as with Grammarly in the management of the writing process. And at the end of the day, we were all pretty happy with it. But we also felt like we needed to, have this at the front end of the dissertation. So if you go pull it up on Ohio Link when it's available in a couple of weeks here, you'll see that in the front end, as well as the standard citations within the document and when he's using things.
Thank you, Greg. And that's a very good overview of what this entailed. It sounded like a very complex use of AI that it helped with brainstorming, with translation, and then is also the project itself involves AI as well. So there are different layers to the AI usage. And this is just one case of what has been going around in our day-to-day work. I think a lot of the questions are raised by faculty and students. I remember the conversations we have had in the grad chairs meeting, and they are desperately need some kind of guidance when specific cases pop up. So I think having the transparency for communication is pretty key right now. So thank you. So today we have explored the evolving landscape of AI use in the graduate research framed by the keywords policy adjacent language on GenAI use. We've benchmarked against key peer institutions and seen how others are navigating this space with flexible policy adjacent language. And at Ohio University, we've highlighted broad local initiatives from CTLA's foundational guidance to graduate-focused exploration series and campus-wide collaboration like AI at OU and Is AI Really Killing Creativity? We've also examined real-world questions and cases, including feedback from the USETDA community and a successful dissertation defense involving GenAI. So where do we go from here? The path forward is not about rushing into formal policy. It's about building shared language, collaborative frameworks, and responsive guidance. And we invite you to join us in shaping this conversation, just like what we're doing today, whether through working groups, feedback, or cross institutional collaboration. And together we can ensure that AI use in graduate research is ethical, transparent, and empowering for students and faculty alike. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we've already got a couple of questions in the chat, Ruth.
All right.
I think these are both directed to my case study discussion, so I'll go ahead and address them if that's okay. Teri's question about how easy or challenging was it to get the faculty committee to collaborate on that. Easier than you might think, but that's also because I tend to be very careful with students I work with and with committees I get involved with to make sure that they are people who are going to be good committee members and things like that. But we did start off right from the very beginning talking about these issues. And so it was up front from our very first meeting, with Kwong, basically at his comprehensive exam defense when we started talking about the dissertation proposal and how he wanted to go about it. So I think that was really helpful. But yeah, everybody was on board, and we just sort of it was a discussion around the table until we got to a point everybody was comfortable. But it didn't take a terribly long amount of time, usually. Lily asked about how much negotiation. I mean, not a whole lot. There was definitely agreement, an agreement. I will say the only written version of that existed at the proposal stage. Once you got into the actual dissertation itself, it was much more of an ongoing conversation. As I mentioned in my discussion, that was when at the proposal stage, none of us realized he was going to use AI itself for the actual content analysis piece of things. So that developed over time. He was definitely required to keep documentation of his AI use, including the various draft versions of the dissertation going forward. So if anybody had any questions about things, we could go back and check and compare. I will say that neither his chair nor I felt particularly obligated to do that in most cases. We both had lots of experience with him as a student, so we were familiar with his writing abilities and styles. That also makes this a little bit easier. It would have been tougher if I didn't have a lengthy background with him, I think. But we did require him to track and retain everything he had done, just so if there were questions along the way, we could go back and demonstrate what was happening.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Is it fine if someone wants to unmute and ask the question?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I have another question, Greg. So do you feel that, maybe faculty or the composition of committees works maybe a little differently depending on your discipline?
Undoubtedly. For example, in the Scripps College, students have a lot of control over that process, right? We don't assign advisors and things like that. They select them. So it really starts with them selecting a chair that they're comfortable with and can work with effectively in most ways. And then the student and the chair sort of collaboratively put together the rest of the committee. But it's really a very student-driven process for us in communication. And I recognize that not everybody works that way. You get into the bench sciences where you come into a program and you're going to work in somebody's lab for the next 5 years, and they're your chair, and everything flows from that. It's probably a very different process in that sort of context. I think the basic principles still apply, right, about transparency and most people are probably going to still want to retain evidence of how things are used along the way and things like that. But there are discipline differences as well as just sort of work style differences that people would need to take into consideration. Another
Making things
chat.
posted. Oh,
That's okay. Yes.
yeah. So I'm just trying to reclaim my moderator role.
Yeah. I didn't mean
When
to
these
preempt you there.
LLM tools first rolled out, there was a clamor for policy at our school that's mostly died down. Just wondering if other schools have experienced something similar over the past year or so. Please chime in, weigh in.
I'd love to hear from the rest of the folks in the room here or there. I know what it's been at OU, which is similar to Megan, I think, but I don't know if that's universal.
Has
Yeah.
anybody on the call been involved beyond ETD work, at their institution as it intersects with AI? Been like on a committee or like a, ad hoc work group or anything like that?
Or has anybody actually produced a university-wide policy anywhere rather than just some sort of general guidance?
Kim, are you planning to say something?
Well, I'm kind of going to talk a little bit about this in my flash talk. Of course, we have a LibGuide. We don't have a policy, and it's driving me crazy because, I mean, I guess we have a policy about AI and the use of it in the classroom that could extend into this, right? The graduate college doesn't want to come right out and say, no, 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 that should be left up to the committee and the advisor and that kind of thing. And then we're just saying, things like it's up to the advisor to approve some use of AI within the context of related university policies and theses dissertation requirements. We ask both the faculty and the student to use the LibGuide I put the link to in the chat, and that includes a way to cite AI in various style guides. If further assistance is needed, we suggest that you talk to a very specific librarian about it, and that's pretty much all we say, whether faculty or students contact us. And I feel like we need to come out and be strong about it. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I think there definitely has to be some sort of acknowledgement of the use and agreed upon use, and the citations are certainly a key part of that.
Absolutely. And I think it's a very well constructed webpage, and it's the information is very relevant and clear. We do have something similar here in the Ohio University Library guides as well. And yeah, so we refer to students to these kind of resources as well. So
Thanks for sending that link.
yes, I think, is it Liz that has a question?
Yes, my question is for Dr. Newton. Have you thought about any other situations where you think AI might come up in the future in working with doctoral students?
Yeah, what I've realized is my brain isn't big enough to envision all the possible uses. Um, there are so many. In fact, the panel session the Ruth and our presentation referred to about is AI killing creativity, presented me with several scenarios that I hadn't even thought of before Wednesday night this week, as they talk through things people are using these tools for. I will say that panel was a very sort of creative, artistic, heavy group. So it was more people doing MFA kinds of things than doctoral dissertation or thesis kinds of things. But as I've talked about with Ruth and a few other folks a few times, I keep expecting us to see more of that kind of stuff in our dissertations and theses, as students become more comfortable with those tools, as they become more accessible themselves. And the way AI engages with some of those creative tools, I think presents some interesting challenges for folks. But this is one where I am definitely still building the airplane while we're flying where we're going. I don't even know where to start with a lot of that stuff. It's a great question, Liz. I don't know.
Well,
Are you all having those discussions as well, or?
As a librarian, I'm in the technical services back end of things, so I'm not front end of it, but
Okay.
it's something that I'm very curious about because there seem to be, when I read about what students at least do on the undergraduate level, it varies from helping to almost writing, and I'm not sure how, as the students who are doing that at a younger age move forward through education, how that's going to change.
Yeah.
So, but it's fascinating. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we are almost at the end of the session. And if people have been putting in links to their own LibGuides and policies and so forth. And of course, as we've been saying all along, the conference proceedings will include the chat records and which will be distributed to all of our participants. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for attending. And of course, thank you, Ruth and Greg, for this wonderful information. And again, just sharing very honestly, what you're encountered, what other questions, etc. So we are going to be taking a short 10-minute break, and we will resume at 5:40 with concurrent sessions. Number 11 is the ETD Administrator User Group meeting. That'll be in the main room, which we're in right now. And then session 12 is the ETD Formatting Users Group meeting, and that will be in the breakout room. So we will see you all back in one of the rooms in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teri, for moderating.
Thank you, Teri.
You're welcome. My pleasure.